Welcome back to the This Day podcast. Today on the podcast, we have our sweet friends over at the Nightlight Collection. Last year, you may have seen a lot on our stories. This incredible jewelry company that has specialty jewelry made in the region of Bangkok, Thailand. Well, today we sit down with one of their representatives to talk about this jewelry. I hope that you enjoy this podcast, and I hope that you get to learn a little more about this jewelry that brings hope with a purpose. Check out the latest episode right now. Lauren, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today and wanting to share about the incredible ministry of the Nightlight Collection. I am so excited. We have been talking back and forth and partnering together just on a few things with what the Nightlight does. So I would love to hear about this ministry more and for you to share about Nightlight and everything that you guys do that mixes with jewelry and just how did Nightlight Collection start?
Nightlight is an international faith-based organization compelled by love to reach out to, rescue, and restore those that are negatively impacted by sexual exploitation and the sex industry. And so in 2005, our founder, Annie Dieselberg, who was actually a missionary in Bangkok, Thailand, started interacting with women in the area that she was serving in. And they began expressing to her a desire to exit the red light industry that they were either coerced into or entered under false pretenses, and they were looking for anything else that they could do. And so she just felt led by the Lord to find other employment so that they could provide for their families, because in Thailand, in that culture, it's the women, it's the daughters that are expected to provide and take care of their families. And so she kind of had this crazy idea to start hand making jewelry and teaching the women to make that jewelry so that they had a job, but then they also had a way to create revenue out of selling that jewelry so that they could then have income and provide for themselves and their families and all of that kind of thing. And then shortly after the actual business got started, they founded the Nightlight Foundation, which is a part of Nightlight in Bangkok that does ministry work. So they are the ones that take in the women and help them to find resources. They share the gospel with them. They do like skills training, and at certain times there's childcare, and they offer other restorative services and things like that. They also have a shelter for women that are have been trafficked into Thailand from other countries that are trying to either gain citizenship, which is very difficult to do, or are seeking legal like just justice through the legal system. And then they also assist those women with repatriation so that they can go home to their families that they have been separated from. And so that was how Nightlight kind of got started. And then in 2012, Nightlight Missouri was started. So right here in the middle of the US, we have an office in Springfield, Missouri that serves women in Southwest Missouri, all different areas
Wow.
that are also impacted by trafficking and exploitation and things like that, helping women just in the area. And then in about 2015 is when Nightlight Collection, the business side of Nightlight, came to Springfield, came to Missouri, and we do all of the sales, marketing, distribution, all of the kinds of business specific things to allow for the jewelry that our artisans make to be sold in the US.
Wow, that is just so cool how, one simple missional trip to Bangkok, Thailand turned into this whole ministry. I love that so much. So kind of share a little more about the jewelry. Like this is not just jewel, like obviously it is jewelry, right? But like it's jewelry with a mission.
Yeah.
So talk about some of the jewelry that you guys have out and coming out for the holidays. People can get these as
Yeah.
gifts for their family. Like share a little bit about all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so all of our jewelry and apparel, we have kimonos as well, is handmade by all of our artisans. And so when they approach Nightlight and say that they're ready to leave the industry, if they are Thai natives or are planning to stay in Bangkok, they can pursue employment with Nightlight. And we have a few different opportunities for that, but the main one is making jewelry. And so it's earrings, necklaces, bracelets. We do, we just this year in 2024, for the first time ever, released jewelry for little girls
That's so
and
sweet.
men's jewelry. So that was kind of a fun project that I got to start on. And so we have all sorts of things. Um, and I think one of the coolest things about Nightlight jewelry specifically is that um, we, I mean, because we're a faith-based organization, we see, we have an eternal perspective, right? Um, we see things the way that God created them. And
Mm,
so we try to use as many like natural stones and gems and things like that in our jewelry to
yeah.
really use the resources that God gave us to be able to share these beautiful designs. So we have this spring we came out with the Genesis collection. Has a lot of really fun colors, a lot of really cool pieces that are a little bit different than probably you would find just at like your Claire's or smaller jewelry shops. And then it's not mass produced, which is really fun. And then this fall, we came out with a few fall pieces. I'm actually not wearing any of it today, but they're some of my favorite pieces because they're so
Yeah.
pretty. And then we actually just, let's see, a few weeks ago, released an exclusive pair of earrings for Christmas. So they're
Ooh,
red and green and they're really cute. I'm so excited to get my own so that I can wear them this holiday season.
I
So
love it. I mean, like honestly, like you have to have Christmas jewelry. Like I feel like
absolutely.
you have to do it. Come on.
Yeah. So for the
That's so
holidays,
cool.
yeah, for the holidays too, we have hand beaded ornaments.
Stop.
So beyond the jewelry, for the holidays, we do hand beaded ornaments, and I think they are some of the prettiest ornaments I've ever seen. In fact, I went through and I bought an ornament for every person in my family last year.
That's so sweet. Now, do you have people that paint the ornament? Like, are they hand painted by somebody like in
So they're
Thailand or like who paints them?
Yeah, they're actually beaded. So in the same way that our women will bead the jewelry, they
Wow.
bead and sew the ornaments. So it's like even more detailed, specific than you would probably expect to see anywhere else. So
That's so cool. Okay, so you may know a lot about this process or you may not know a little bit, but it just kind of
yeah.
sparked in my mind when you were talking about the women and like them beating the braid. So how do these women, like, obviously they are being rescued from trafficking and brought out of trafficking and all of that, which is just such a good thing. Um, but how do they get to the point where they start making the jewelry? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so I don't know all of the fine-tuned details.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's several steps that gets them to the point of being able to fully start work. But with all of our opportunities for employment for them, they just start with a basic training. So we actually have a woman in Thailand that does all of our designing. So she's the one that comes up with all of the beautiful designs that we sell. And then she has samples and For the most part, it's just recreating from that sample. And so they get to sit down and they just learn the different techniques from other women that they're working with, and kind of get to learn that way. And then there's ways to like promote and to learn new skills and things like that. So we have the jewelry making, we have the beading with the ornaments, which I think is one of the more complex opportunities. So those are usually the women that have been with us the longest.
Yeah.
And so it's really just the women kind of work together and they teach each other, and they learn new skills just kind of as they go and as new designs come out.
Wow, how cool. I love
Yeah.
that. So you guys have always had this vision of like reaching and impacting these women that are just in these really difficult situations. Um, why, like there are people all over, there's people in America that are impacted by human trafficking, and your founder had the vision of Bangkok, Thailand. Why so much Thailand?
Yeah, so I actually asked her this question, and it's not the most exciting answer. But I mean, it's still great. She was actually sent to Thailand as a missionary, her and
Yeah.
her husband and her family. And so through the organization that they were commissioned with, they were sent to Bangkok. And so they actually were in the area previously, as missionaries just in the region prior to founding Nightlight and going that direction.
Wow.
So it
See,
was
I
just
love
God's
that. I love
calling
that
on their
like
life.
there's so many simple things, like it's the simplest thing, but like God uses like our simple like visions,
Yes.
right? That's so
Yes.
cool. That's so, so cool. Um, so for you guys, what do you think maybe you as the, you know, if US based person,
Yeah.
why is it important for you to have vision in all of this?
Yeah.
All that you're doing?
That's a really good question. I think what's so unique for Nightlight is that our vision came first. And so truly, like nothing else would be possible without that vision. And so what the way that everything started and the way that God revealed that vision, to Annie and the rest of the people that have come alongside her, in the past 20 years that Nightlight's been around, is just that it unifies everyone. The calling that God puts on our lives through that vision,
Mm.
just helps us to have just a unity and a direction that we can go, and know that he's leading us and that we're not doing it by our own strengths or our own ideas and things like that. So I think it's one of those that um, it's it almost takes the weight off of our shoulders because it wasn't our idea and it wasn't our plan. Like God truly orchestrated it, and so having that vision is just the best reminder of that at all times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is something that's coming down the line for you guys? What are some ministry goals that you all have?
Oh gosh, there's so much. We like to dream.
Yeah.
And so one thing that we're actually working on, that is a long-term dream, I would say. Short term in the grand scheme of things, but long term, for how it feels right now. We are actually, we have the goal to be able to double the number of women that we employ in
Mm.
Bangkok, by the end of 2026.
Wow.
So that's that seems a little daunting because it's over a few years, and that is a lot of revenue and a lot of funding that we would
Yeah.
need to be able to do that. But our even on top of that, our goal is to be able to have the business be self-sustaining. And so right now we kind of have a hybrid model of we take donations from people that are compelled to give to the mission, but we also have the sales and the income that comes from selling the jewelry. And both of those things go towards paying the women's salaries. But eventually we'd like to as every business would, be able to fund that completely based on sales and be able to use donated funds for other ministry specific things rather than just the women's salaries.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely be partnering with you guys in prayer for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully, God can do incredible things. So I don't doubt that you will see that come to fruition. Um,
Absolutely.
how can people keep up with you and your ministry and, how can they support most
Yeah.
importantly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest way that people can support us is through prayer. None of what we do is possible without people praying for us and for the divine connections that we're able to make
Mhm.
with women. But beyond that, shopping is always,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like a win-win. Um, it's a positive for us and a positive for the people that are shopping because that money does go directly towards supporting the women and their choice to leave the industry. But just to follow along, we're on Facebook and Instagram at Nightlight Collection. And then with the ministry, they're on Facebook and Instagram as well. It's Nightlight International. And then to shop, you can go to nightlightcollection.com, or if you want to learn more about the ministry and feel led to give either monthly or one time, we kind of do a whole slew of things. You can go to nightlightinternational.com as well.
Well, that is great. And for sure, like you guys have some great jewelry out there, so it's great gifts for the holidays. I recommend it. Me and my one girlfriend here in Nashville, we have been sending each other pictures of the jewelry back and forth. We're like, oh, should we get this? Should we get that? Should we get this? And
It's so dangerous to be working in it
like
because I feel like I need it all.
exactly. Like, where can you go wrong?
Exactly.
But it is so, so beautiful. It's so fun. Thank you so much for hopping
Thank
on the
you.
podcast and just sharing more about the Nightlight Collection. I love to see what you guys are doing to support
Yeah,
just these women that get in and come out of these difficult situations and find freedom. So it's great.
absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to brag on God and what he's doing. So,
Yes, absolutely. Well, hey, friends, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of the This Day podcast with our friends from the Nightlight Collection. I hope that you know that you are so loved and treasured.